Perfect. So the topic of today is a proven guide to exam success. Okay, I'm going to be sharing with you the science of passing exams using proven systems. Okay, these are tried and tested systems, which I'm sure and I'm confident it works, and anyone can learn these systems. Okay, so just a little bit about myself. My name is Yunus. My background's in education. I did my honours degree at Huddersfield Uni. I did my master's at Cardiff Uni. I also did education at UCL in London. I worked as a school teacher for a little bit, but all of my life, those of you who know me, there's quite a few people who know me, I've always been involved in education, teaching children. That's sort of been my background. That's been my passion. And yeah, so naturally, I've been involved in after school settings, and this has been my focus for the past 3, 4 years. And what I'm going to share with you today is essentially a summary of what I've learned in these 3, 4 years of running a tuition center and what I've seen consistently, not just in our students, but in students in the best schools and in other tuition centers that are scoring amazing results. And I'm interested to know how they're doing it and how people from our community or people who are attending our center, how they can achieve the same level of success, right? Because it's not a mystery. Once you know what to do, you just need to implement it. And that's the part people often struggle with. So the goal of today is to share with you the exact steps needed, okay, in order to help your child progress by at least 2 grades, if not more, okay? And that's what we've seen on average our students are progressing by. Okay, some students have progressed by more, and some students don't progress at all. I'm not going to lie. We do have students that do not progress at all, but if you follow the process, you will see progress. So, why are exam results important? Okay, that's the first thing that I wanted to talk about. When your child leaves school, okay, this is what they're going to get judged on. Okay, when they go for a job interview, when they're applying to Russell Group universities, what they're going to be looking at is their grades before anything else. Okay, and unfortunately, if your child doesn't have the right grades, then certain pathways, certain career options, certain things are just going to be simply closed off to them. Okay, so we want to make sure that your child has the best possible opportunity, okay, to have their sort of opportunities as open as possible, so that when they make a decision in terms of what they want to be or what they want to do as a career, their grades shouldn't be a barrier to that. And as long as we've done our level best to make sure that they've got the best grades possible, that's enough. Okay, and that's what we're here to do, to make sure that we're doing our part so that they can reach their potential. Okay, what I want to share with you is the attainment gap. Okay, the attainment gap is the gap between, children who are scoring really high and those who may be coming from certain ethnic backgrounds or certain areas or certain socioeconomic backgrounds. That gap, okay, the difference in the grades has only widened since COVID, and it's getting bigger and bigger. Okay, and it's of serious concern. And this is why tuition centers, after school tuition exists, because we want to narrow that gap and we want to make sure that our children have the same opportunities or the best possible opportunities, that later on in life, their grades do not hinder them. Okay, this is Noor. She's one of our students. When she came to the tuition center, she was estimated grade threes, okay, and she was scared that she's gonna fail her GCSEs. She did maths, English, and science with us, okay. She was sitting foundation paper. She ended up getting a grade five in sciences, grade five in maths. That's the highest you can get on foundation, and in English, she got a grade six. Okay, and she went up by 2 grades in the first two subjects and 3 grades in the third subject. And she got into her college of choice. She actually got into her course of choice. Hadn't she had those grades, there was a chance that she may have had to resit that year. Okay, so it's really, really important that your children really only have one opportunity or one shot at the year six SATs or the year 11 GCSEs or A levels. Most children typically don't reset them, nor do we want them to be resetting them. But what I want to share with you that exams, it's only one step in a child's journey. Okay, it's the first step, and depending on how they perform in them exams, it will directly inform what they later choose to do in their lives. Okay, And we want our children to be in the best possible position that they can be saying, I want to do this, I want to be doing this, I want to be doing this. We don't want them in a position to say, oh, I'll do this because of these, or because I don't have the grades for this, I'll do this. That's not the position that we want them in. Okay. But when speaking and working with students, I've noticed that grades is not something that motivates them. It's not, if you say to them, oh, I want you to go get a grade 6, most students are not motivated by that. If you tell them, I want you to go and achieve a grade 7, they're not motivated by that. Okay. And, what they are motivated by is the outcome, what the grades lead to. All right. So what I have seen is students who wanted to get into medicine, or they wanted to get into a prestigious, apprenticeship or something like that. Those students are usually most motivated because their goals crystallized. They know exactly, this is what I need in order for me to study X, Y, and Z. Therefore, the drive and the ambition and the desire to get those grades is a lot higher in comparison to a child who doesn't have goals. Okay. So having a conversation with your child and really consolidating what those goals are and what you want them to achieve through education early on is really, really important. So they can see the bigger picture. Up till today, I've not met a parent who doesn't want the best for their child. Okay, all parents really want the best for their child. This is why they come and seek tuition. This is why they're willing to put in extra time. They're willing to turn up on a Friday evening to learn about how they can help their children. Okay, but it's really important that your children also share that vision with you and they understand your motivation and where it is that you're wanting to or trying to take them. So having a conversation around that is very, very useful so that they too can see the bigger goal. Okay. Now I'm going to be talking a little bit about managing exam anxiety. Okay, this is a topic that comes up particularly when students are almost about to sit their exams. Okay, and it's particularly pertinent for GCSE students, and it's particularly pertinent for A-level students. And if your child is sitting the 11 plus, okay, that's where you will see a lot of exam pressure, not so much in SATs, but you do see it creeping up as well. All right. And, you know, happy children, okay, are healthy children, and they're also the ones that go on to secure the best results. All right, and I want to share with you some research from the National Center for Social Research that came out in 2021, and they found that children who suffer from mental health difficulties are twice as likely not to achieve the benchmark of 5 GCSE grades A to C, okay, in comparison to 30% of their peers. That's massive, right? And right now, there's a lot of mental health issues, okay, within young people, and a lot of it comes from social media, comes from peer pressure, comes from what they see online. Okay, there's a lot happening in the news. All of this impacts your child. Again, it's really, really important that we're taking care of their mental health, because if they're not sound in their mind, it's going to really inhibit them from leading happy, healthy lives, and it will also inhibit what they actually score in their exams and how they perform in their exams. Okay, and there are two groups when it comes to anxiety. All right, there's parents who suffer from anxiety, and there's the students who suffer from anxiety. And what I've seen with my own eyes, right, this generation of parents, there's an incredible amount of pressure, okay, on us to make sure that, children are, raising children in a digital age, okay, how we do that and how we navigate that space. It's a new space for everyone, and it does take a toll, okay? And the fact that, you're here, you're listening, you're wanting to learn is an indicator that actually, your child's in in good hands, and you will, figure it out, and you'll get the right level of support. What I want to talk about now is, student sort of mental health and their sort of where their anxiety comes from. And in my experience over the years, this is where a source of anxiety for students comes from, in particularly in relation to exams. The first one is they have a fear of failing. Okay, they think, oh, I'm not gonna pass. All right, and when you have a fear of something, that fear can be quite crippling. It can be quite paralyzing. Okay, so we need to work through that. Or they have a fear of disappointing their parents. Okay, and we see this a lot when we speak to students, that they're scared. Okay, how the parents might view them. All right. Remember this, that your child, your love for your child should never be attached to how they achieve in school or what grades they get. Okay, your child should be made to feel like that. Yes, we should push them, we should encourage them, and we should really get them to reach their potential, but they shouldn't feel like it's conditional. And my love is conditional for you only if you do this, or only if you do that. It's a bit of a slippery slope in my experience. Okay. The other root of anxiety is when the student thinks that the teacher that they got in school is not very good. Okay. Or they're unhappy with, the teacher. They might be getting, suspended, or they might be always, being sent out, or they feel that it's a supply teacher and the teacher doesn't really have strong grounding in the subject that they're teaching. Okay. Therefore, they lose that confidence. Okay. And we often get students that come to us saying that this is the reason why I'm seeking tuition in chemistry or tuition in whatever subject that they're looking for in. Okay. Another reason is they're getting compared to their siblings or their cousins. All right. And there's a so-and-so's daughter's got this grade. Why are you only got this grade? And this often is a cause of anxiety. Okay. Something that we do need to be aware of. Okay. Or it's something to do with like their own self-esteem. They think they're not really good at a particular subject, or they think, the words that they say to themselves, okay, it causes a root for their anxiety. Like, what's the point even trying? I'm going to fail anyway. If your thinking is like that, it's going to be quite hard to sort of break through that, okay, even though it is possible. Or they get overwhelmed, with the GCSEs exams, they all happen together, right? And they don't know where to start, they're distracted, they're not focused, and this can also cause anxiety. Or they're finding it really hard to focus or struggle, okay? And a lot of this stuff often does stem down to the use of screen time. The research shows it's correlated, all right? Or they struggle to remember things, and they're forgetting things quite easily. Cool. I'm just checking the time. I don't have the actual time in front of me, so you might see me looking down on my phone from time to time. But moving on. So now like these are the roots of anxiety. This is what causes anxiety. What do we do about it? Okay. So there's two things that you need to do. All right. One is you need to identify the concern. You need to know, okay, where is my child's anxiety coming from? What is it? What is it in relation to? And after you've done that, you need to identify, what can I do about it? Now that you know what it is, what can you do about it? And what actions can I take that will actually influence the thing that's causing my child anxiety? So let me give you a couple of examples. If you find that, okay, your child can't focus, constantly distracted, okay, then the action that you might want to take is you might want to set up a timer for them where they study for 25 minutes if they're older, okay, or if they're younger, you might want to set the timer a bit shorter. And there's an app called Forest app that you can use to help this. It's free. I sometimes use it myself, I'm not going to lie. And they revise in short bursts, okay, so that will help if they struggle with focus. All right. If your child thinks, yeah, I'm good in class, I understand everything, I get this a lot, but when it comes to exams, for some reason, I forget everything. Okay. Then the action here would be, actually, do you know what you need to do? You need to practice more exam style questions, because that's your problem. So that's what we're going to focus on. Right. And I want to share with you this diagram. I've shared this before. It's from Stephen Covey's, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And he argues this, that look, when you focus, all right, on the things you can influence, right, then your problems, which is the navy blue section, begins to shrink. Okay. And when you focus on your problems, then the thing which you can influence begins to shrink, right? So if we've identified a problem, we want to focus on the solution, not on the problem, all right? And I'll share with you in the next slides, which is the key summary. Where our focus goes, that's where energy flows, all right? So if we choose to focus on the problem will expand. It'll become bigger and bigger and bigger, and it becomes so consuming sometimes that you get such sort of paralyzed with anxiety that you're unable to do anything. You're unable to study, you're unable to focus, you're unable to eat, all right, etc., depending on the child. So if we focus on what the solution is, practicing exam style question, setting a timer, getting a tutor, getting support, okay, having protected time to study, okay, if we focus on the solution, then the problems slowly become smaller over time. Okay, even if the problem that you've identified is 100% justified. Say your child has a supply teacher in school who he's not happy with, all right? But having that supply teacher makes no difference to your child's grade. Your child's still going to have to sit that exam. They're still going to have to, whatever grade they're going to get, that's what they're going to get. So complaining and not being happy with the teacher is not a strategy. All right. You can do something about it. Okay. And this is the whole point of this presentation, to actually empower you to say that, look, there's things that I can do. I can take control. My child can take control and put themselves in the driving seat. Okay, which now brings me to this sort of chart. Okay, and this is from Yerkes Dodson, right? And what this chart shows is that actually having anxiety, a certain amount of it, is actually quite good for children, as long as it's managed. Okay, having too less anxiety and having no pressure, okay, is problematic, and having too much is problematic. So if you look at this bar graph, okay, or look at this chart, sorry, you can see that for optimum performance, you want your child outside of the comfort zone and inside of the stretch zone. So you want, children should be feeling pressure. And in my experience, this is what I've noticed, okay, in the 4 years that I've been doing this, okay. For boys, the pressure usually comes really late. Okay, it comes usually really, it takes a long time for the pressure to settle in, and then they're trying to do all-nighters before the exams. Okay, and some of them they're okay, but a lot of them tend to struggle. Okay, for girls, the pressure comes on a little bit earlier. Okay, so depending on the gender of your child, and obviously the child themselves, it can differ. But my point is this, that your child should be feeling a certain amount of pressure and anxiety, but it needs to be managed. Okay, we don't want them in the zone of delusion, okay, where there's too much pressure, where it's actually causing them strain, where it's actually inhibiting their performance. If they're too relaxed, too laid back, okay, then that's not good either. All right, so you do want to get the balance right here, and I wanted to share with you, okay, which is brings me on to the next part of this presentation, okay? And I'm gonna now share with you, I talked about this on the Beehive with the parents that are on there, three crucial shifts that need to happen in order for your child to feel empowered, right? One of the things I'm telling parents and I'm telling children as well is that they are not in the passenger seat, that they are in the driver's seat. Okay, I have spoken to kids in India, Pakistan, and places like that who have learned like coding, who have learned video editing, all off the internet themselves. Okay, and they're able to do things themselves, and they've taken that initiative. Okay, and what we do need is that the message here is that our children can also take initiative and take responsibility for their learning. Okay, they are in the driver's seat. We don't have to constantly be sort of, directing them. And it's how do we do that? Okay, so now I'm going to share with you these three crucial shifts, okay, which need to take place in order to improve performance in exams. I actually shared this last week with 50 college and university students, and it went down really, really well. So I'll share those with you right now. All right, so there's three things. So will, all right, belief and skill. Will is to do with motivation, it's to do with drive, okay? Belief is to do with, that you can do something, okay? It's an empowering sort of idea. And skill is the technical, how do you do it, all right? And the message that I have for you right now is any one of these is not in alignment, okay? Is not in place, your child will not reach their full potential, okay? Let me explain. So look at this diagram, all right? There's a diagram here, and it's got three sort of pictures. All right, I'm just going to give you a couple of a minute or so just to look at this diagram and see what these pictures mean to you. All right, see what you can come up with. So I'll just break it down. So what this shows is that in order for you to succeed and in order for you to have your potential, we'll start off here, that you need to have the will, the drive, the motivation, okay? And you also need to have the belief that you are capable, that you can do this. When these two things are in place, you can start building the skills, okay? And slowly climb your way to reach your full potential, okay? If any one of these is missing, then you're gonna get stuck, okay? So in this diagram, this person here, they have full belief. They believe that, yes, they can do it, but they lack the drive, they lack the motivation. Okay, they think they're going to get grade 7s and 8s and 9s, but they're actually not showing up. They're not doing the work. They're not revising. They're not turning up. They're not attending the classes. They're not doing the homework, but they've got the belief that they're gonna get the grade 9s. And then what happens is they don't get the grade 9s and the 7s and the 8s, okay, because they didn't show up. All right. Similarly, you might have the will and the drive, but you've got a lot of negative self-talk. You're not capable, you're stupid, or I don't understand this. Or if that's how you think about yourself, okay, you will always be, if any part of your ladder is missing, you will always be limited to the lowest ring, or lowest rung, sorry. Okay, this is what causes bottlenecks. All right. So you might have a child and you might be thinking, oh, but I'm teaching him this, I'm explaining this, and I'm doing this, and I'm sending him here, and I'm sending that. Nothing seems to stick. So you have to look at where's the deficit. All right. Because as schools generally they focus on skills, building skills within children. Parents, in my experience, they focus on will. Just get on with it, just turn up, just show up, just crack on with it. Okay. Often there's a belief deficit. All right, how we speak to the children and how children think of themselves, and we have to make sure that each of these areas is in alignment. All right, and that's how we help our students and our children, okay, get to the top and reach their potential and break through sort of grade boundaries. Right, let me give you an example. Okay, so a common example, people want to lose weight. I want to lose weight. Okay, so what happens here? All right, so let's use this framework again. So you have a person, all right, who let's start off with this little one, who believes, yes, I can lose weight, no problem, I'm amazing, all right, but they're unwilling to put in the work, they're unwilling to show up, they're unwilling to, they're not motivated, there's no drive, and then they're doing all of these different things, they're counting calories, some days they're missing it, this and that, and they're finding that they're not losing weight. All right. Similarly, the person has all of the drive in the world, but they're lacking the belief that they can do it. It's something that's not within their reach. Therefore, they always get stuck. They hit a wall and they get stuck. It's this person who actually succeeds, who has the belief that, yes, I can do this. I am more than capable of doing this, who also has the drive that I am willing to do the necessary work in order to be able to do this. And then they start slowly stacking the skills. They start counting calories. They start exercising. They start drinking water. They start going to the gym. They start sleeping on time, whatever it is. And this is the person that will actually go and lose weight. These two are going to be blaming this person, that person, this diet, that diet, this not working. Maybe it's this, maybe I need to do keto, maybe I need to. These two are not going to get anywhere because it's that framework is not in alignment. It's the same principles when it comes to exams. If our will isn't there, or if the belief isn't there, it's very hard to then build the necessary skills that we need in order to help our children sort of succeed in the exams. Okay, and this requires a level of honesty, right? Where we look at our children, or our children look at themselves and say, okay, where am I in my situation? What's lacking in me from me achieving my potential? Right, and this is my message to students. I share this with my tutors as well. All right, the children who go on to get grades 9, 7, 8s, and 9s, or go on to get the best grades in schools, they're not getting it because they're smarter, because they're more intelligent. All right, that's not the reason they're getting it. Okay, there's incredibly intelligent students, okay, who are not getting top grades, and there's students who are getting top grades, but they might not be the most intelligent. But there's a way of doing this, and the reason they're able to do this is because they're better at playing the game of learning, right? In this country, all right, in this country that we live in, the way exams are, it can be gamed, okay? It can be hacked. It can be sort of children can be coached into getting top grades, okay? And this is what all the children that go to grammar schools, vast majority of them get coached so that they can pass the entrance exams. It's the same when it comes to GCSEs. It's the same when it comes to A levels. You can get coached into passing those exams if you know what you're doing. So my message to the students is, look, get better, okay, at playing the game of learning, okay, and find out what's stopping you, what's holding you back, and then work on improving that. All right, work on improving that, and you are more than capable of doing it as long as you're willing, right? If a person's not willing, then it becomes really, really challenging and difficult. All right. So this is the takeaways that I want people to take away from today's session: is you need to have goals. All right. You need to have goals and understand why it is what you're doing, why it is you're studying for GCSEs, why are those grades important for you, whatever it is. Okay, you're going to school 5 days a week, you're spending 6 hours a day there, right? You need to know why you're there. And if that why is inspiring enough, then studying becomes easy, practicing exam papers becomes easy, doing homework becomes easy. If it's not clear and if it's not understood, all of the above becomes very, very challenging, okay, for both you and your child. Then you need to work on beliefs. Okay, what are the things that you're saying to yourself in relation to your capabilities, in relation to your abilities, in relation to the subject? All right. If your message to yourself is, I hate maths, or maths is really, really hard, then you're automatically limiting yourself. All right. And you're putting this ceiling on yourself before you've even begun. All right. And then the skill. How good are you at passing tests? How good are you at passing assessments? And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. That is one of the focus of today. I'm going to share this with all the parents, but I'd like you to, if you want, you can take a screenshot of this, but I'll share it on the group as well. Okay. This is my academic vision mapper. This is a worksheet that I'd like you to sit down with your children and have a conversation about, okay, what are your actual goals? Why are you going to school? Right? Why do you want a grade 7, 8, or 9? What is it going to do for you? Why do you want, to score X, Y, and Z? Right? And make those goals first clear what it is, and then make the why, the reason, okay, clear as well. And if you ever have your child, if they're not motivated or if they're struggling, you can remind them that, remember, this is why we're doing it. This is why we're doing it. This is what we want for you, right? This is why we're putting in this time, we're turning up to tuition or whatever it is that you're doing, so that your child sees that, okay, my dad's got or my mom's got a higher vision for me, and I have to work and I have to get, aligned with that. When you have that conversation, it becomes easier. It's not always easy, it becomes easier. And then talk about what disciplines and what habits do I need in order to achieve that goal. What do I need to stop doing? Right? What's stopping me from achieving this goal? Is it I've got too much screen time? Is it too much iPad? Is it too much, PS5? What is it? What do I need to start doing? Do I have a study schedule? Do I have a, homework routine? Do I have a timetable? What is it that I need to continue doing? So what habits have I already got that's helping me achieve my goal? All right, and build on that. All right. And then finally, we're going to be looking at what do I need to believe about myself, right? And really be extra careful and extra conscientious with the words you use to speak to your child. Okay. You want to use words that's going to boost their confidence, not knock their confidence. All right. And and you might be like, sometimes my child needs, strong words and harsh words, etc., etc. Some children are motivated, okay, but the research shows that if you actually build your child's self-esteem and self-belief, okay, they're more likely to succeed than if you diminish it. Okay, no one likes to be, told that they're incapable or they're not able to do X, Y, and Z. What do you believe about your abilities? Okay, what words are you using to describe your own abilities, your own intelligence? So I would spend 10-15 minutes with your child, okay, covering this, okay, and maybe even stick it on the fridge and remind yourself that this is why we're doing this is why education is important. Okay, what's the big picture here? Right? And simply getting 101 or 115 in your SATs isn't motivating to a year 6 child. Okay, telling them maybe, oh, we want you to be a doctor, or we want you to be a professor at a university, or we want you to do this or that, that might be more motivating. And in order for you to do that, you need to be able to do X, Y, and Z, okay, etc., etc. Okay. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the skills that are needed, right, in order for you to sort of develop your potential. All right. What are the skills? Okay. We talked a lot about those, and these are the skills that we teach in our sort of tuition center. Okay. The first one I'm going to talk a little bit about is evidence-based study skills, all right, backed by research. Okay. If your child is spending an hour revising, you want to make sure that that hour is as productive as possible, because there's certain revision techniques that are really, really good, and there's certain that are, you can almost say it's a waste of time, right? Organization skills. All right. Your child needs a realistic study plan that you can stick to. If your child is sitting A levels or they're sitting GCSEs, there's a lot of exams that are happening all together. Okay. And if you don't front load that effort and you're just cramming it all towards the end, it's a lot of pressure for anyone. So having good organization skills, we're still at the beginning of the academic year right now. So you can map out their week, you can map out, okay, when they go into, karate or football or madrasa or whatever it is they're doing, when they're having their relaxed time, their family time, their social time, their PlayStation time, and when is it that they're actually going to be studying maths, English, science, or whatever it is. Make it realistic, make it something that they agree to, and make it something that they can stick to. And you might want to have rewards and incentives in place if they're able to do X, Y, and Z. And then, children need to learn how to categorize knowledge. All right. And this comes back to like independent learning. And as they get older, they need to be able to self-assess. All right. And they themselves need to know, okay, I've got strengths in this area, I've got weaknesses in this area. This is where I need to focus on. So when I am revising, I'm focusing on the areas where I'm weak. Naturally, we tend to avoid things that we find difficult. But if you're switched on, you're going to focus on the areas that you find difficult. So it's getting students to break through that sort of comfort barrier, and then really mastering exam technique. Okay. And I'll talk more about this later on, but this is the one. This is the one that your child is getting judged on. Okay. If they're in year 6, most likely after their SATs, that's the mark that they're going to use to decide whether they're going to set 1 or set 2 or set 3 when they go into high school. And from that mark, we can even actually deduce what they're going to score in their GCSEs. It's pretty like it's scarily accurate. Okay. So and similarly, all right, so getting in GCSE times, getting zoned in on how to actually sit exams and score the highest, okay, what you need to do is really, really crucial. And I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later on. But I just wanted to share with you some evidence-based study techniques, okay? All right. The ones on the left, these are all passive techniques. They're your C grade students, okay? Your average students will be using this, right? But if you want your child to be excelling, then you want to be using active techniques, all right? So rereading of notes, highlighting, underlining, summarizing, okay? They're not very effective revision techniques for passing exams. All right, what you want to be doing is something called spaced repetition. And this one comes up in the literature again and again. I've read dozens of teaching books, and this one comes up again and again. What is spaced repetition? Spaced repetition is when you learn something today, and then tomorrow, when you learn something new, you quickly cover what you learned yesterday. All right. And in a week's time, you quickly cover what you've learned last week as well. So you're systematically covering things that you learned in the short, medium, and long term. Essentially, what you're taking knowledge from your active memory and you're slowly ingraining it into your long-term memory. Okay. And if you do this long enough, and the key here is you got to do it systematically, not randomly. All right, you will retain knowledge and you will remember things and you will understand things much better than simply highlighting or having things organized, really nice folders, etc., etc. Those things actually don't matter. Okay. Testing yourself. A lot of times students will spend hours and hours revising a topic, but you give them an exam style question, they can't answer that question. They're like, okay. The reason they can't answer that question is because they actually haven't learnt the topic. They might have read it, but they actually haven't learnt it. Okay. So testing yourself early on, all right. And then if you can't answer that question, going back and learning the content so you can answer the question. Okay. Interleaved practice. This is when where if two topics are similar, we're studying them together. All right, so we know how they're sort of interleaved. And then categorizing your learning. Okay, this is understanding how information fits together, how knowledge works, how subject matters sort of all come together. And this again is a skill that you need to learn, especially if you're wanting to go and achieve the sort of top grades. And these are things as parents, okay, you need to be aware of, but these are things that our tutors will be focused on. Right. And the reason I talk so much about assessments and say, look, assessments are crucial because this is what your child is getting judged on. I want to share with you the 1% principle. All right. So if I take a typical GCSE student or an A-level student, in year 10 and year 11, if we add up all of the hours together, what we see is that there's about 2,000 hours of teaching that takes place over those 2 years. Okay, similarly between A1 and A2, there's about 2,000 hours of actual teaching that takes place. But the actual exam time is less than 1%. It's 40 hours roughly at GCSEs, and it's about 18 hours roughly at A levels. And the point I'm making here is your child is going to get judged on that 1%. When they go to apply to university, they're going to be looking at their grades. They're not going to be looking at the attendance record. Not going to be looking at, did they go to Pakistan on holiday, or did they go this, did they go that? They're not going to be care. They're not going to be bothered about any of that. They're only going to be bothered about what grade did your child get in their maths, English, on whatever it is that they want to go into. So my message to parents, my message to students is focus on those exams, right? Focus on mastering how to answer those exams. Okay, that should be top priority, and that is what's going to actually matter at the end of the day, and that's what you need to be sort of focused on. Okay, but any child, even me, I was an adult, sitting exam style questions, sitting past papers is really, really difficult because they're hard, right? And they're really, really challenging. It's much easier just to read a revision guide or to go into BBC Bitesize and to draw a mind map and highlight things. It's much more fun, much more easy, all right? Because the chances are, if you sit a past paper, the chances are you're going to score low initially, okay? But if you keep practicing it, and this is why I share this picture, that over time, okay, you will fail, 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 but over time, you'll eventually see success. All right. And if you can master this skill, all right, and face that resistance, okay, usually children are, and you tell them that, yes, in the beginning, you're not going to know it, but keep practicing this skill, and eventually you will master it, and you will see success. There are schools in this country, okay, which I have visited, where students consistently get grade 7, 8s, and 9s. Consistently. And you're thinking, oh, are all the kids in this school incredibly intelligent? Are there something special about the students? No, it's that they've mastered this skill. They've understood how exams work. They've understood what examiners are looking for, and that's all they're focused on. Okay, and therefore they consistently get the top grades. That's how they do it. Just want to share this picture with you. Okay, this is a basketball player, Kobe Bryant. He's a famous basketball player, and the reason I share this with you is he's on in the whole world. He has scored. He's the fourth highest in the whole world field goals made. Okay, fourth highest world record. This individual has scored the most goals in basketball. But he's also on another record. He's number one when it comes to shots missed. Okay, in the whole world, the person who has missed the most amount of basketball goals is this guy. But no one's bothered about that. No one even knows him for that. What they do know him for is this is the guy that was one of the best, and he was fourth best in the world. And this is my point to students and to parents, that just get comfortable with finding those exam style questions really, really difficult. But over time, okay, you're gonna start passing them. If it's a 7 mark question, you might get 2 marks initially, but then you'll find out, okay, this is how I need to get 3 marks, this is how I need to get 4 marks, and eventually you'll start scoring full 7 marks. And you do this consistently over time, you will actually reach your the grade that you want to go to. But it's that resistance that I was talking about. This mountain, not a lot of people are willing to climb it because it's painful. But we just need to break through that mental barrier and get there. And I want to share this quote from Bruce Lee, and he said this: "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." And I say to students that if you're going to practice anything in this country and in the schooling system that we're in, practice becoming absolute ninjas at passing assessments. Okay? Every exam comes with a mark scheme, it comes with an assessment criteria. They actually tell you exactly what they're looking for. And these examiners, they're not creative, they're looking for very, very specific answers. You just need to learn what those answers are. Okay? And if you can do that, you will score amazing marks. This now brings me to what I call the winning formula. If you follow these steps, your child will score brilliantly. Okay. And this is what they need to do. It's 5 simple steps. The first one is you need to go into Google and you need to find a past paper. Okay. And you need to, they're all available online, right? Download a past paper, whether it's SATs, whether it's GCSEs, whether it's A level. And once you've chosen one, okay, you want to spend no longer than half an hour revising. Okay, revise a topic. Okay, say you're going to revise, algebra in maths. That's the topic that you're going to revise. Then pull up the past paper and answer questions in relation to algebra. Okay, spend 20 minutes answering those questions. Then what you want to do is mark that answer. Okay, once you've marked that answer using the mark scheme, okay, you want to see where it is you've lost those marks. And if you need to go back and learn the content again and access the content again so you can see where it is you lost those marks, you can do that. Okay. But then finally, if you're struggling to do that yourself, you might want to speak to your teacher, your school teacher. You might want to speak to your tutor. You might want to speak to another child who knows this topic better than you, and find out where it is exactly those marks are lost. When you learn topics like this in this manner, okay, and you're learning it essentially backwards, you're learning it, okay, what is it that the examiner is looking for, and you're fully aware, okay, because each year, I'm not gonna lie, they ask similar questions. Similar questions appear in the exam papers. Okay, they might be from different topics or different sections, but they're similar questions. And once you get a flavor and an idea of these are the type of questions they're going to ask, these are the type of answers that they're looking for, okay, then it becomes really, really easy to score those high marks. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is what I would use. But challenge a lot of parents have and a lot of students have is those mark schemes they're written for the examiners. So often they can be quite inaccessible. And this is where having that one-to-one or having support from a tutor or having support from a classroom teacher or someone who's ahead of you in their learning to explain that mark scheme to you. Because sometimes I'm not going to lie, it does look like code. You're like, there, what does this even mean? I don't understand it. Okay, and that knowledge is not just going to appear to you. You have to go out there and seek it and find out from those who know more than you. All right, so getting feedback, okay, on where did I lose those marks, okay, where could I have improved, and really understanding that, okay, and it might take a few attempts for the penny to drop, okay, and that's fine. All right, knowing that, okay, I've not understood it, I need to maybe access some YouTube videos or go through a revision guide or go study things, okay, before I can attempt to answer this question again. Okay. Moving on. So this is my message. Learn the game of exams. All right. Know that exams are not a test of intelligence. Okay. I don't want to sound rude, but I've met lots of grade 9 and A-star students. Okay. And they've just learned, they've got those grades simply by doing what I've just explained to you. Right. And often they might not be, they might not vocalize it, but that's how they've done it. Okay. Exams are essentially they're a test of how well you can answer exam questions. Okay, you can argue that they're not really teaching you chemistry in school, they're teaching you how to answer exam questions based on the exam paper, and you really need to get familiar with that mark scheme. All right, the more familiar you can get with that mark scheme, all exams come with a mark scheme. I've not seen an exam that doesn't have a mark scheme. Okay, and if you're not sure, okay, how to use a mark scheme, this is where you might need to get help. All right. And this is for students who want to score the highest grades. I had a parent, I think yesterday, I'm not sure if they're on the call today, but his daughter, sorry, was consistently scoring grade eights, and he wanted her to score a grade nine. And really, I was just thinking about what's the best advice here. It's the examiner's report. All right. With each past paper, with GCSE A-level past papers, the examiners do produce a report. And in that report, they talk about where most of the students actually lost marks, where marks could have been, where they went wrong, where things were challenging, and they cover it in a summary. Okay, so if you're one of those individuals, or your child is one of those individuals that really wants, full marks or close to full marks, then that examiner's report is worth looking at, is worth reading for everyone, but particularly for those who are wanting the grade nines, right? And again, I just want to emphasize that mark schemes, they're not always accessible. If you're able to read it yourself, and if you can help your child access it yourself, amazing. If not, there is support available. There's support perhaps from the school, or you can get support privately as well. But really become comfortable with embracing the grind, okay? And just rinse and repeat this process. If you can rinse and repeat this process again and again, okay, then your child will do really, really well. And this is why having that sheet that I showed you of why you're doing this, okay, if that's not clear, then this process is going to be really difficult for anyone to do, because it's not clear. Okay, if I'm getting you to drive, but I'm not told you where we're going, all right, you're going to be all panicked. When are we stopping? How far is it? What time are we going to get there? Okay, but when we know the destination, when we know the goal, then driving, long hours is no problem, because we know exactly where we're going. We know when we're resting. We know when we're going to stop. We know when we're going to hit a service station. All of those things are known to us. If all of the things are unknown to us, then that drive and that trip becomes anxiety inducing. So really embrace the grind, rinse and repeat, etc., etc. Okay, so now moving on from here. Okay, now I've essentially shared with you for free, all right, how we help students and how you can help students. Okay, and I shouldn't say this, but you don't really need a tutor. Okay, you can do all of this yourself, right? And you can go on, do all of this yourself. But what I've seen, a lot of parents, they don't have the knowledge, they don't have the time, they don't have the resources, and they do require that support. But in terms of an action plan, one option is do it on your own. Okay, and in my experience, okay, some students are able to do it on their own, right? If they're in the top 1%, they're studious, they're academically driven, okay, they're able to do it on their own and they can crack on with it, okay? But some parents, they just want that reassurance, or they want to make sure that they give their child the best possible chance. Then getting support, particularly in this climate, I would say is quite wise. And what I mean by that, obviously I'm naturally biased, okay? But what I'm not biased on is the fact that the schooling system is getting worse and worse day by day. The class sizes, the funding, teachers leaving the profession, right? It's absolute chaos, right? Don't take my word for it. If you've got friends and family that work in the education system, go ask them. Say what's happening in the school. What do you think of the future of education in this country? What do you think of future of teaching in this country? And they'll tell you. Okay, so we want to make sure that our children are not being left behind, they're not falling behind, and they're getting the relevant support. And I say this as well as someone who likes going hiking. If I was going on a big hike for the first time, right, something like I will say Ben Nevis because I did Ben Nevis on my own, but say I was doing Mount Everest, okay, I would never attempt Mount Everest on my own. All right, I'm asking for trouble. I'd much rather be part of a group, or I'd much rather have someone who's been there, done it, and who's telling me which way I need to go, or where to put my foot, where and having that support. And sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of the times, exams, particularly GCSEs and A levels, it can feel like a mountain you're climbing, right? And I remember when I was a student, right, okay, what it was like, and I'm not gonna lie, it's got harder for these students, because when I was a student, I didn't have this distracting me. Okay, so now it's more and more challenging, because there's a fight for children's attention. Okay, and they're used to short videos and short this and short that, and their attention spans have naturally become shorter and shorter. So they are requiring more and more support. Okay, which now then brings me to what we do. Okay, if you wanted to use our services, a lot of you are already parents that are using the services here, and I developed this framework, okay, and I genuinely believe, okay, that if you follow this framework, your child will reach their full potential. I don't say every child will get a grade 7, 8, or 9, because not every child is capable of that, okay. I don't make promises which I sometimes do get parents whose children are on grade 2, and they'll tell me I want a grade 6, and I'll tell them, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do that, okay, because we can promise up to 2 grades. Okay, that's something that is within reach. More is possible if the child is driven and they have, a lot of motivation and drive, and the parent is also driven. I've had students progress by 4 grades because, the parent and the child have both been driven. But I genuinely believe this framework works when we focus on diagnosing the problem, when we focus as tutors, filling the gaps of where their knowledge gaps are, when we focus on testing them to make sure that they've understood the exam questions, understood where they're losing marks, okay, and we provide, systematic learning, okay, where we're reviewing and revisiting consistently, and there is progress happening, okay, over a period of time. And on your side as a parent, okay, simply sending your child to tuition, okay, might not be enough, but making sure from home that your child has a study schedule, okay, that your child has a routine. Children crave routine, okay, and it's really, really important that they have that in place, okay. And if you're able to do that earlier, the better, all right. Making sure your child understands there's, study. If your child said, oh, I'm going to my room and studying for an hour, what are they doing for that hour? Are they practicing exam style questions, or are they going on BBC Bite Size, or are they spending 1 hour on their phone, 5 minutes revising and 55 minutes on their phone? The 3 different children each have spent an hour. Which one's more effective? The child that's been practicing exam style questions. So making sure that they know and understand the study tips, and they know how to make sure that they're moving forward in their learning on their own. And then obviously their mental health, okay, making sure that they're sound, that they're taken care of, and their screen time is managed, okay, that they have some sort of physical outlet. I genuinely believe all children should be doing some sort of sport, okay, or if they're not sporty, then they should be doing some sort of something creative, okay, something artsy, because your brain does need to switch off and you do need to shut down. And even as parents and as adults, we should have hobbies so we can model to our children that yes, life's not all about working, and we can have hobbies, okay, and we can have passions that children can see, our own children can see as being involved in. And then lastly, talking specifically about managing screen time, this is a big one, okay. If you ask me what's the difference between a grade 4 student and a grade 9 student, I will tell you the grade 9 student is focused, they're good at managing their time, they're good at managing their screen, and they also know exactly how to study and what techniques to use, okay. Intelligence, I would say, comes after all of that, okay. And when we do all of this together, then we can close the attainment gap together, all right. And those parents who are existing parents at Clever Bee, and you're currently in here, I've set up a WhatsApp group for you guys, which is the Beehive, and that's there and that's open. It's there for you to ask for support, ask any questions. We've had a couple of parents make inquiries, etc., about things that they need support with. That's what that's been set up for. You're not alone. We're here together as a community, and we're here to support you. Okay, that now actually brings me to the end of the presentation. Okay, I'm gonna put our contact information here in case anyone is new and they want to learn more about tuition and what we do and what we offer. So if you want to take a screenshot of that, or you can contact me directly if you're in the WhatsApp group. Okay, I'm one of the admins, and you can do that. But other than that, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna Ibrahim, if you can stop the recording. I'm gonna take, if anyone's got any questions, I'm gonna take any questions